Entitled Bible-thumping aunt steals an anime box set that I told her son he couldn't borrow. Then she gets mad because the cartoon is not age appropriate. Welcome back to Reddit Chronicles. If you're new here, do consider subscribing to help me out. Let's get started. No real damage done, but it was still annoying. A cousin of mine recently got into Studio Ghibli films. He wanted to borrow Spirited Away, and I was okay with that. By the way, Spirited Away is a feels anime, so don't watch it if you don't want to cry. His folks go to a church in my area, so they agreed to swing by and grab the disc after service. They come in and I go to get the disc. My cousin starts asking about some other Ghibli films and anime mixed into my DVD collection. Then he points to Soul Eater. It's a great show, but he just turned 13 and it wasn't exactly age appropriate. Plus, I didn't think his parents, mainly his mother, would approve. They're very religious, and the show revolves around soul harvesting, the Grim Reaper, witches, and some fan service. I'm still not sure why Ghibli was okay with them because of the spirits, witches, and demons, but I was pretty sure a soul called Show Eater would tip that Jenga tower. So when he asked me if I can borrow it, I said no. That no seemed to catch my aunt's attention, and she was by my cousin's side in a flash. She asked why he can't borrow it, and I told her that it may not be age appropriate. Then she says something along the lines of, "It's a cartoon, it's meant for children, you're a grown woman, you shouldn't have this anyway." I was a little irritated, but stood firm. Instead, I let the kid borrow My Neighbor Totoro, as well as Spirited Away, and they went home. I thought everything was good, until an hour ago. I received a call from my screaming aunt. She accused me of trying to corrupt her son with vulgarity and Satanism. I was lost at first, and then she mentioned a demon and a naked Catwoman being in the first episode. I checked my shelf, and Soul Eater was missing. I'm not sure when she did it, but she had stolen the box set. They're returning the movies next Sunday, and Soul Eater had better be with them. I'm hoping she doesn't confiscate it like she does with other ungodly stuff. But that set was around $50 after shipping and handling. It was like the first anime box set I ever bought, and I will go to war for it. Edit, text spacing, second edit. They agreed to return my DVDs next Sunday. I'm hoping it'll be uneventful, but I'll update then. So she says no, and the aunt steals it anyway, and then blames her for trying to corrupt her son. It makes me want to check out Soul Eater now. For the engaging plot and the demons, of course, not the naked Catwoman. Mom sneaks onto summer camp at night to kidnap her whiny kid. I used to work at a summer camp in Northern Ontario in Canada from the time I was 16 to the time I was 25, so I have many stories about parents like this. Me, my evil twin, EM entitled Mom, WK whiny kid. So this happened in my first year, and I was pretty new to counseling. I had a kid who was always homesick and would cry 4 or 5 times a day. I talked to his dad about it, and he said that the kid's mom babied him and dad was trying to toughen him up a bit. He told me that unless anything was serious, to just ignore it. So for the first 4 days, I tried to help the kid, but he obviously didn't want to participate and would cry whenever someone tried to talk with him. I let him sit out, and then he would participate a little. When we were approaching the first weekend, I realized that my cell was missing. I thought maybe I'd misplaced it and went to bed. I woke up to banging on the door. The kids were freaking out. I walked over it and opened it and see a 40-year-old Karen with wild eyes.
"Where is he?"
"Who?"
"Where is my son?"
"Miss, we have a very strict policy. You can't be here right at that point." She tried to push past me. I grabbed onto either side of the door.
"Mommy, he's the one who's bullying me."
I turned my head just enough to see the little bastard with my phone.
"Let me through, you piece of shit."
At this point, she's pushing with the force of 1,000 entitled moms. I let go of the door and two-handed shoved her. She toppled over and slammed to the cabin door, locking it. I grabbed my phone from the little brat and called my camp director. She told me that she would call the father and the police. We made it very clear to the parents that it's trespassing to come onto the camp at night. Whiny kid is crying and screaming for his mom. Entitled mom is slamming against the door. using her "can I speak to the manager" strength. She's screaming about me being a pedophile and how I'm raking her child. I hear her going to the other cabins trying to get in, but thankfully all the staff had been informed to lock the doors. Finally, I hear cars pull up, but then I hear more slamming. She broke through the door with a baseball bat. I felt like I was in The Shining. All of the kids are screaming while the little brat is smiling and yelling for his mom. I pushed all of the kids into the bathroom and told them to lock the door behind them. I grabbed a broom, waiting to do battle with this evil being, but just as she was getting the door open, 2 police officers tackled her to the ground outside. Her face was purple, and she looked a lot like Grimace.
My baby! No! Let me see him!
The cops dragged her away. I was later informed that the father and mother had divorced. They had shared custody, but the mother was mentally unbalanced. She was later admitted to the mental hospital. The kid isn't much of a brat anymore, as the dad has full custody. Yeah, just imagine a raging 40-year-old woman coming at you with a baseball bat. I'm glad that's never happened to me. Entitled mom and her daughter ruined the trip I've been planning for 20 years. Guys, I was thinking about how lucky I am that I'd never really had any entitled parents to deal with, and then, boom! My brain was like, hang on, remember Karen? Without trying to identify her, this woman's name was literally Karen, and boo-hoy, she certainly showed her true colors. For those who don't know, Karen is a meme name for entitled/unreasonable women. A little backstory. From the first time I saw Hocus Pocus as a wee 7-year-old back in the 90s, I've wanted to visit Salem. I'm obsessed with autumn and Halloween, but being English, it was never a huge thing growing up. My parents always tried their best to make Halloween special though, and I've grown up to throw a party every year. I'd never found anyone willing/able to take my dream trip to the States in October with me though. Enter entitled daughter. She was a work colleague, and we hit it off straight away. Long story short, we discovered that we both wanted to visit Boston and Salem, then Maine, so we booked it. Finally, I get to live out my dream. Enter entitled mom. For some reason, entitled daughter wanted her mother to come with us. Entitled daughter was 23 at the time, and I was 28. But, you know, fair enough. 3 people is more fun. I was so wrong. They ignored me almost the entire trip, unless they wanted something. I have severe obsessive-compulsive disorder. Being given the cold shoulder makes me think I've done something terrible, /am too annoying, or everyone hates me. They immediately took the 2 king-sized beds at our Boston Airbnb, leaving me with a fold-out camp bed, and poured huge scorn on everything I suggested we do. Ghost tours, learning the history of the places we're in, visiting cool places, in favor of spending hours in Victoria's Secret. Yeah, Victoria's Secret is cool and all, but we're in another country with a super cool history. The worst part came when we arrived in Salem, my all-time #1 destination. Entitled daughter started a conversation about my OCD and the fact that I used to self-harm years ago. Why? Why start that conversation? An entitled mom looked me in the eye and said,
I don't sympathize with you. I don't believe in mental illness. It's just people whining.
Because I couldn't punch her, I walked off to have a bit of a cry. I pretty much left them to their own devices after that. I felt safe enough on my own in Salem, and all of the people were so nice when I blathered on about how I'd wanted to visit for 20 years. It gave me a lot of discounts, which is something I never expected as a Brit. I even got a tattoo to commemorate the trip. The rest of the holiday was extremely strained, and I was so glad to come home. They ruined it for me. I would love to go again without them. Needless to say, entitled daughter and I are no longer friends. Wow, that royally sucks. Wanting to go on a dream trip from when you were a kid 20 years ago and then 2 people tag along and ruin it for you. General word of advice. If you're going on some trip with someone that you don't know really well and they try to invite other people, especially their parents, that's a red flag and you should probably reconsider going. Your scar makes you a danger to children. I was in a terrible accident a few years ago. Other driver at fault. A long litany of BS ensued, even though I have a history of dramatic and effective volunteer work. At my kid's school, I'm not from here, and therefore can't be trusted, so a bunch of controversy ensued. Basically, my husband was approached a few times by parents who didn't want me wearing orthopedic braces for my injuries because it scared the kids, didn't want me limping because it was depressing to see, etc. After my resulting spinal surgery, my kids were getting so much crap about my spinal brace, had I taken it off, I'd have died, that I wound up being formally asked not to show my face on school grounds until I was out of it. This year, I'm out of the spinal brace, but have a giant scar on my neck. You have to get clearance from the cops to be on my kid's school campus, which I got. You go in, either your license is scanned and you get a sticker badge, or they know your face and give you your formal printed badge. There was no formal printed badge made for this year, for some reason, so I turned in my sticker badge after meeting one day, and the school police officer and some parents immediately walked in. Front desk sub, whom I've never talked to, but one of the crowd, who'd pearl clutch and give me the stink eye.
We've talked about this. You need police clearance to be on school grounds around the children.
I have clearance through the police. Let me pull up the email.
Yours is expired. You have to get it every year.
I did.
You did not.
I wound up being detained by the officer and late to work, who, after my name was smeared, determined that I did have clearance. Also, that front desk sub would have known that if she was scanning my license to get in. She wouldn't have been able to print me a badge. After some comments on my neck, I was allowed to go to the office. I filed a complaint with the district and had a formal badge printed the next day. TLDR, because I have scars and physical limitations, the front desk substitute at my kid's school makes gross accusations about me to the police that are easily disprovable. Yeah, substitutes for anything can kind of be like that. If you want more where that came from, simply click on one of these boxes right here. And if you liked the video, I assume you did since you're still here, I'd really appreciate if you could drop a like and a subscribe to help me grow my cat and feed my channel. I'll see you in the next episode of Reddit Chronicles.